Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we about to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against it and with a little bit of soul, no times.
Welcome to Please Remain Calm. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I am Daniel Gonzalez. As always, folks, the opinions expressed here on the Please Remain Calm podcast are our own. They do not reflect the opinions of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the Los Angeles County Department of Health Services. We have a guest today.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of funny because I actually worked with our guest. Our guest today is Dan Meyer. He's a firefighter at Fire Station 67 in Playa del Rey area of Los Angeles.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Playa Vista, Silicon Beach. Thank you for having me.
So I happen to work a day over at 67s, and I've known Dan just kind of like tertiary, kind of on the outskirts. You know what I mean? We've run into each other, but never really actually like worked together.
Right.
He'll be on the 8-ball or something like that and show up, and he's always got a great attitude and not to talk shit or anything, but Dan's got a nice nifty head of white hair. You know what I mean? So the guys will call him like old man Dan, stuff like that. Right.
I dub it Arctic Frost.
It looks great, dude. Don't get me wrong.
Thank you.
You look like the Juice Man, you know? Remember the Juice Man?
Oh God, the juicer.
He looks way younger than the Juice Man, dude. Give him a break.
So we worked this day together, and we happened to be on the engine together that day. Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, man, when you're on a fire engine, you know, everybody in the engine has this headset on, so and an intercom throughout the whole thing, so we can all talk to each other. And it's kind of like how this podcast used to be, where you can hear everyone really clear. And there's all kinds of stories that go on in the back of the
and we can still
engine.
hear each other. Just it's not a knock on the podcast production.
Yeah, no. But you know, you're cracking jokes, you're telling stories. You know, you see something as you're driving down the road, and oh man, I remember this one time, and everyone's that's kind of how the day goes when you're riding around with 4 people on a fire engine that get along with each other. Yes. Or it can be absolutely silent.
Which is yes.
when you have 4 people that don't get along, or a captain that doesn't like talking or whatever, right?
Very awkward.
So just it was an interesting day for me. Number one, it's not every day that I'm back on the fire engine, right? I'm assigned to the paramedic rescue. So anytime I'm able to get back on the fire engine is a fun day for me. But then also Dan was cooking. Everything you were doing was kind of striking me as interesting, right? He like made bread from scratch. He was like, "Oh, I gotta get this yeast and get this bread going." You know,
who is this silver fox baking bread from scratch?
Yeah, I'm like, who is this guy? You know. And then we kind of got into just talking about history and his history with the fire department, how he became came to be on the LAFD, and it was just kind of, it just seemed like the more like when you're digging a hole at the beach or something, you know, and the more sand you pull out, like another wall cave in, it's like, oh shit, I got more to get out of this. You know what I mean?
You were going to watch one episode, you binged the whole season.
That's kind of how it went, right? And I'm like, guys, it's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
So I thought right away, like, man, he would be a really interesting, because we always, and you guys know, anytime we have a firefighter on or whatever, I like to get into like how you became a firefighter and all that stuff. And everybody's story is different. The route that they took to get to the point they are, your goals, why you have those goals, you know, where you want to go, all that stuff is always different. So when I hear an interesting story from somebody, you know, about how they got to be where they are, it's always something that I feel like we should share with people. Of course. Before we get into all that, I do want to say Dodgers spent over $1 billion on 2 players in the past couple days.
Yeah. Well, a month ago.
Yeah.
Remember? Yeah, we're airing this in January.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that the Dodgers we're looking at 10 years of championships here. Yeah. So get ready for it, folks. I don't care if you're mad.
That'll be $50 beers.
That's all right. I'm willing to pay it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's get into it with our guests. We only have an hour here, and this is actually a long, winding road we're about to take you down on this trip down memory lane of Dan's career.
Definitely the scenic route. We're definitely taking the scenic route to get to there. To this point.
Let's start with a question that we're all wondering. How old are you, first of all?
I'm 54 years old. I'll be
54.
I'll be 55 in May.
55.
So
okay.
He's got a 10 spot on you.
And how much time do you have on the LAFD?
It'll be May 1 of 17. So May 1 will be 6 years.
6 years. Wow.
6 years. Only 6 years.
So you were 48 when you actually joined the LAFD.
Right. 48 years old in the drill tower, class 16-4.
That, for those of you that don't know, is very unusual. I think I've had like one 50-year-old rookie. He was like a golf pro or something like that. And he applied because his son applied. And he actually wound up getting hired and wound up at 63s as a rookie. But he didn't last as a rookie. I mean, usually when you're older and you've lived some life and you got some history behind you, it's really hard to take some young fool telling you to clean the toilets or barking at you because you didn't do this right or you didn't do that right. The standard shit that you go through as a rookie, you know? So let's start at the very, very, very beginning.
The very beginning.
How did you even... Was fire department the goal at the beginning?
Yes.
How did that goal even get into your head? And how did you start?
That started, got at elementary school. The Redlands Fire Department did a demonstration. They came and actually stopped. They stopped down the street, and all of a sudden they turned on the sirens, and here comes an engine, the battalion chief, and they did a big demo, squirted water, and I thought, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. And it pretty much stuck. And I finally got into where I could get my hands on as an Explorer Scout, which I think it's called cadets.
They call it cadets now. It used to be Explorer here also because it was through Boy Scouts of America.
Yeah. So I did that in East Highland, started that when I was still in high school. So 85, 86 is when I started doing that. And then right after high school, class of 87. Anyhow, class of 87.
Madonna was topping the charts.
Madonna was chopping the charts.
Tiffany was,
we're the new wave thing, the total 80s hair bands, the whole thing's happening.
Lip gloss, big hair.
Absolutely. Yeah. Aquanet in cans that were 40-ounce cans or whatever they were at the time. Good Lord. Anyway, I got hired with the Forest Service right out of high school and did the federal wildland thing during my time as when I was in college. Went to Grafton Hills College, got an associate's in fire science, and then worked Forest Service, Bureau Land Management, Park Service, Bureau Land Management.
Now, were you an outdoorsy kind of person? Like, did you go hiking and stuff like that beforehand anyways?
Yeah, for the most part.
Or did you see forestry as like an avenue to get into?
It was
at the municipal fire department.
At the time, it was getting into a municipal department. I don't know if anybody remembers the hiring procedures and the challenges a lot of departments had to go through. I was not of the right ethnic background. I mean, I'm going to put it right out there. At that time, let me put it to you how bad it was and how hard it was. We were competing for these jobs. I had to wait 3 days in line just to get an application for the Redlands Fire Department. Just an application.
Yeah.
3 days in line. I mean, actually physically there in line.
Yeah.
My now wife bringing me food as I'm waiting in line
to get the app.
Just to get the application. Never mind turn it in, have an interview, just to get the application.
Yeah, kids these days don't understand how good they have them.
Oh, I see it now.
Put in an interest on the website or joinlafd.org or whatever, and you go in and just put your interest, and then they email you when the test is going to be. It's crazy how simple it is.
There's all kind of outreach and recruitment now.
Yeah, there was they didn't need recruitment because it was such a high demand job. And it got even worse when 3 at 50 happened. I mean, that was CHP did that. So they were trying to get people to be cops. The fire department said, hey, we need people too. So they started doing it. However, so finished college, got a bachelor's degree in public administration from Cal State San Bernardino, go Coyotes. Finished my last season with the Bureau of Land Management. I made it up to engineer/captain. They had a JAC program. Let's see. And then I was getting married. I had to get something with health benefits. The Bureau of Land Management, I didn't have any of that. It was just a seasonal position.
Sure, yeah.
6 months. Had a lot of fun. Went to a lot of fires. The station where I was along the I-15 between anybody who goes to the river or Vegas a lot, between basically Bell Mountain and Sidewinder up in Barstow. That was our first in. I put more people on helicopters in one summer than people did all year.
Yeah.
Because it was that busy.
People don't realize really great experience. Forestry and land management and all that stuff is.
I learned a lot about fire behavior. It's a great place to learn fire behavior and how to work hard.
Especially when you do get with a municipal department and then you get attached like a strike team or something like that to go out of the city on these major fires. A lot of times you'll have, captains that have been trained and they're, engine bosses and all this other stuff, but they're looking to the dude who was 22-year-old kid that just got done with 7 years in forestry. Like, hey man, what do you think? And he's like really the one that's giving the advice and running the show.
Exactly. Yeah. So did that. And then I worked for the Air Force as a civilian. I wasn't in the Air Force. I was an engineer / captain for the Air Force for about a year. Didn't pay very well, but it had health benefits. Mm-hmm. And then from there, more money. So I got hired with the city of Victorville. I was a dispatcher for about 2 years, I think, if I remember correctly. And we dispatched 9 different departments. So 9 different agencies, 9 different policies, 9 different auto aid agreements.
Oh, wow.
9, you name it. We had who went where and each chief decided. Yeah, that was an interesting challenge.
Wow. You really did all the jobs.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Man. And we're just into like the mid 90s right now.
Yeah, we're in the mid-90s. Yeah, we're not even here.
It's another 22 years before he gets on to
we'll get caught up. We'll get caught up here. We'll get caught up pretty quick. So, did the city of Victorville, and then I put in an interest card for Department of Airports in Ontario. A friend of mine worked there. His dad was actually the fire chief at Redlands, and he kind of told me what it was all about. And I said, well, that sounds really fascinating. So I put an interest card in. By this time I had been married. I had my own house, et cetera, et cetera. My mother calls and says, hey, this interest thing came in the mail. You might want to come pick this up. That's when I put it in when I was still living at home.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was the Department of Airports saying, hey, you're up next for the next part of this job process. And I got hired with the Department of Airports, April 1995. I went to a police academy, Rio Hondo, class 128, and started my 22-year career with Department of Airports.
Now, with the Department of Airports, you said you went to the police academy. So it's a dual function.
Great
position.
question. No, good question.
Right.
Yeah. So it was started by a retired battalion chief, and it's called an Airport Safety Officer program. So we'd work a 24-hour shift, just like LAFD. We use the same calendars, the same holiday letters, same procedures in that regards. But 8 of those hours that I'm there for 24, we were on watch. So every FLSA period, we'd switch watches, day swings, graves, day swings, graves. And so on each crash truck, we had 2 people assigned to the crash trucks, a primary and a secondary. Primary was the operator, engineer. Secondary was turret or ground hose, nozzle.
Hand lines and stuff.
Yeah, hand lines, nozzles, etc., or turret. But that third name was on watch. So at the end of the day, all 3 of us, at the end of the 24-hour shift, all of us had been on the crash truck.
Yeah.
And all of us had been on the police side. Now we're on police side. We change uniforms. It says police. We carry guns, powers of arrest, the whole thing, just for Ontario Airport. During that time, there's other stuff you could do. Like in my case, I spent 2 years working narcotics interdiction, which was undercover work, looking for people transporting narcotics.
Wait, but you would do that like 8 hours of the day of your shift?
Good question. No, when I was narcotics, that was kind of like almost like for us a special duty. That was my permanent assignment for 2 years. And when I was done with that assignment, guess what? I went right back to the fire station, got right back in the flow of things, got back in the crash trucks, continue going to incidents.
That's wild.
Now, if let's say you were on doing your law enforcement duties, mm-hmm. and there happened to be a plane crash or some significant incident on the fire side, would you then switch back over, or were you dedicated to that for those 8 hours?
We were still dedicated to the law enforcement side, but we would be in a law enforcement side for the actual aircraft incident. And that could be if it's near the airport boundaries or just off the airport, cordoning off the area because it becomes a crime scene, technically. Sure. The other part is facilitating getting passengers, the walking passengers from the aircraft to the terminals or to a meeting point or a family assistance center. We'd assist the airlines in doing that. There was a fence breached during a crash. So there's a lot of different other things that in the law enforcement side on a plane crash or a plane incident that we will participate in.
Gotcha.
Sometimes like a couple of them, I was the first one there and I was in my law enforcement uniform. Guess what? Getting the people off the plane.
Yeah.
That's what you do. So that's we don't switch in that regards.
Undercover.
Mhm.
So this is mid 90s. We're talking
Yeah.
mid late.
So
90s?
that was late 90s. So that was 97, 98, I think. Somewhere in there, if I remember.
So
But
you're
yeah.
just dressed up like Tupac Shakur, just walking through the airport.
No, he never came
l-
through. No, Snoop Dogg came through a lot.
Okay.
We saw Snoop, but no, I would not dress like. No, it was just like you see me now.
Like how? What would you do as an undercover? You were just there in the airport trying to see if there were just
Right,
trying
it
to
was-
eyeball things happening.
I would be watching people, and there was a group of us. It was an interagency group task force that was funded by what's called Operation Jetway. We had a DEA agent with us, and we had a sheriff's deputy that had a dog. Ontario Police had detectives with another canine, and we would just sit and watch people. And we would get to the point where it wasn't if, it was what and how much they were carrying.
Yeah.
And so,
Wait, so you could just see somebody walking through the airport and you're like, that guy.
Mhm. Yeah.
What were you looking for?
well, okay. So the best way to describe it, when you were kids,
Mhm.
okay, and you came home and you had something in your pocket that you weren't supposed to, okay,
Mhm.
but your parents are looking at you like, what is it?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
behavior? Or when your kids
Sure,
are doing
yeah.
something
Just-
weird or
yeah.
kind
The
of
guys
suspicious,
just give it away, basically.
that
Just
behavior,
suspicious.
that behavior,
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
No shit.
Did you have
Yeah.
to take any other specialty classes to do that?
Yeah,
type
I
of work,
did.
or-
Was it a 2-week or a 1-week narcotics school? It was I guess it was narcotics school. So we learned how certain narcotics are made. We did practice surveillances, following people on the street, on foot, all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
So we learned all. Spent a couple times. This was back before it wasn't a big deal, but we did eradications. Go out to the marijuana grows in the forests and pull the plants.
Oh, really?
Helicopter in or fly on the Blackhawks and look for the grows in the forest.
Yeah.
I did that a couple of times. That was kind of neat.
That was with the airport department or with the Forest Service?
No, that was when I worked that was when I was in narcotics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so
Law
that
enforcement.
when I was in the law enforcement side,
Yeah.
so some of that stuff, there are narcotics, the narcotics world of law enforcement is not that big.
Mhm.
And so you all get to know each other, all different, the federal agencies, the state agencies. And when they need help with something like those marijuana grows, when there's 2,000 or 3,000 up to 30,000 plants that need to be pulled out, you need some help.
Yeah, it's a big operation.
It's a big operation.
Yeah.
So they just start asking other department, hey, can you spare some guys? And I did it a couple times.
yeah.
Swooping in on Blackhawks, dude.
I know, it's crazy.
Jumping down, dude. We're here for your weed.
And then, what'd you guys do with all that weed? Would you just burn
to
it
the
somewhere?
No, we can't burn it. You know why? It's not because, I'm going to get stoned because it's burning. AQMD, making smoke.
No shit.
So we just take it to the dump. We put it in a gigantic, the helicopter land with what's called a long line. We put it on a giant net, bound it all up. The helicopter would take it to a stake bed at our rally point. They drop it off in the stake bed, and then 2 cops would take the stake. It was a sheriff's department stake bed. They take it right to the dump, watch it get dumped off, and then watch
Where exactly
the
is this
bulldozer,
dump?
watch the bulldozer bury it up.
Man, that's crazy.
Just somewhere in a heap of garbage,
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah,
thousands,
Yeah.
just
yeah.
tons of weed.
Somebody sifting through there is going to have a nice, pleasant
Yeah,
surprise.
who
Yeah.
knew? There's this weed mountain out
Biggest,
there somewhere.
yeah.
Some dump.
So that was, the largest. Some of my largest busts. Okay, so one was 10 kilograms. That was a mule that was hired by one of a ramper that worked for an airline. I'm not going to say the airline.
Oh, wow.
So it was in
you-
there, the luggage?
Yeah, he was actually facilitating the luggage, not bypassing screening.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that happens today in LAX, it does.
I'll bet it happens all.
It
I'll bet
happens
you that's
everywhere.
Like probably the most
There's so much
common
luggage,
one
yeah.
that happens.
Right?
Yeah. And then the other one was the other biggest one was 80 ounces of PCP on 2 individuals.
Whew. Just taped to them?
Yeah.
Damn.
That was easy. That was an easy one. I looked at those guys. I'm like, oh, that was too easy.
Seems like with everything they have in place right now, it's a lot more difficult to do stuff like that.
Oh yeah, body packing
yeah.
is almost impossible with those machines. Underneath, when they actually put it through the, you drop off your luggage and it
Yeah.
disappears behind there. There's still some ways to do it, but most of the time it goes and it gets found
what's going on with our department.
Oh yeah.
and stuff
So,
like that.
I mean, as far as I'm trying to think of alert now, alert 3s, alert 2s, two different things. We call them fulls, but in the FAA world, alert 2 would be a plane has some kind of problem, unsafe gear indicator, flaps not working.
Yeah.
Okay, I've lost my power, but I'm still able to control the plane, that sort of thing. And then alert 3 as like a fire on board a plane or a crash or an impending crash. Like the pilot says something's not right. I smell smoke.
Yeah.
And that alert 3 will be, okay, now this many resources are coming. Alert 2, this many resources are coming.
Right.
3 is going to be more obviously than 2.
How many crash rigs do they have at Ontario?
We had, we had 4. We had 4, 1,500 and 3 3,000s, and then a rescue squad, which is just a GMC kind of service bed truck that had all of our extrication equipment and medical gear, that sort of thing. So that, and then there was 2 of us that were captains, and then we were in Suburbans and command vehicles. And then one of the jobs I did is when I promoted in 2008 is I was the captain that would be like a captain 1, which would be I'm on the ground with the guys directing operations on the ground, and then the administrative captain, which would be similar to a captain 2, would be the incident commander running the incident command post, liaisoning with all the other agencies that are coming in.
Right.
So the last, let's see, I'm trying to think. Southwest Airlines in 96 came in on, instead of all 3 landing gear, it landed on its left engine. I was the first crash truck on that one, first foam on that plane. And then let's see.
Wait, it landed.
Yeah, it landed
partial wheels and then on
yeah.
the
So
engine?
instead of your main landing gear, you have the nose gear.
Right.
Main landing gear is like this. Okay. But instead of it being like this, the left side was like this.
Mm.
And they tried all kinds of different ways to get that thing to land. I mean, we watched him come down and land like, if you've ever seen a jet land on an aircraft carrier, they come straight down and hit the cable. He was trying to land the plane like that to try and knock the landing gear down because they have certain checklists that when they have a certain X number of problem, they say, okay, we have a checklist. You check A through Z. Okay, well, if A through Z doesn't work, then you call headquarters and you tell headquarters, A through Z didn't work. What do you have? And headquarters might give them some other ideas. One of them was, in this case, okay, land real hard and see if it knocks the landing gear down.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Imagine being the guy though in the tower, like that's your job. Like I got the extra. Like
Tell them to hit the ground really hard, and you're just like, what?
Yeah. So they're on their comm link to Dallas to South.
Their hub or whatever.
Their hub, yeah. And so anyhow, when they landed, it skidded right on that engine. And I was on the truck that was on the furthest end. We were all in certain staging areas. I was on the furthest end. So I thought, if this plane lands and he's still sliding, we're going to be the first ones there.
Was this midday or nighttime? Or?
No, it was it midday? It was in the morning. I think it was early afternoon. After lunch.
Do you
lunch.
remember what you were doing when the call came out?
Oh gosh, no, I don't. I was still a rookie actually.
Oh no shit.
I was still a rookie, but I was primary, so I was operating that crash truck, and then the guy that was with me, Alex, he was a seasoned member. He was ex-Air Force, and we were watching this thing because after he did a couple times, we were watching. I was like, oh man, what are those 132 people thinking?
Yeah,
inside that plane.
Well, they're on Southwest, so like the flight attendants are cracking jokes.
Yeah.
The wheel's not coming down.
They're dancing in the aisle.
Right?
So yeah, but
that's like one of my biggest fears, though.
They're offering the Southwest credit card.
What?
That time, 60,000 miles. You guys, come on.
Because there's nothing you can do as a passenger.
No,
you just have to sit there and eat it. Whatever's going to happen, you just got to eat it.
Yeah.
Or 9/11 or something like that. Like there's just nothing you can do about it. You just have to. You
guys,
sit there and eat it.
Did you see that video on the internet where the landing gear won't come down and the car pulls up under the plane and it just comes out of the sunroof to like yank on the landing gear?
Yeah.
I have not seen that. Wouldn't be. It could be done.
They try anything.
Their planes are expensive, so you do what you can to try and make it work.
I'm assuming it's in that list of that guy's plans in the tower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they run through A through Z.
Oh yeah, they could have.
Who's got a car with a sunroof?
But it skidded in and further.
Yeah, it skidded in, and we just covered it in foam, which was actually was an unintended calming result. Because when they land, the flight attendants, their first job is to get up, look, and they look out their doors because where they're seated, if you remember, they look for fire.
Yeah.
That's their first job. and they didn't see any, but what they did see was the plane covered in foam. And they said, oh, thank goodness the fire department's here. And it kind of calmed everybody down.
Sure, yeah.
And so we deployed the rear chute, or they did, I should say. They deployed the rear chute, and they all came down the chute. Oh, by the way, ladies who are watching this, when you fly, don't wear high heels or miniskirts. This plane was coming from Vegas going to Burbank, but it came to Ontario. So when you slide down this
Monday morning flight?
I don't remember, but let me tell you, it might have been. But miniskirts don't do well on slides. They don't stay put. Just FYI, ladies.
Good
okay.
to know. Good advice.
Cotton jeans and sneakers.
Or guys these days, no miniskirts. All right, let's
I
not
like where you went with
discriminate.
that. No, absolutely true. Absolutely true.
Keep the booty shorts in the bag. Wear your sweats.
There's probably a TikTok page of like plane evacuation bloopers.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Plane
we
evacuation booty
saw it
shorts.
right there in front of me in Technicolor. It was great. So we evacuated them off, got them on a bus, got them back to the terminals to where Southwest could get them dispersed to where they needed to be and get them on buses back to Burbank. And,
I remember there was a JetBlue plane that came into LAX years ago. Yeah, with the front landing gear was turned sideways, right? And
yeah, we watched that.
they wound up coming in and skidded in, and the front, since it's sideways, grinded down all the way to the metal. You know what I mean? This big kind of fireball engulfed it. But one of the pilots in that was injured because smoke and sparks and everything from there was smoke coming up, and he wound up jumping out of one of the windows.
Damn.
Yeah, fractured his leg. But you talk about a calming effect, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure going through something like that, everything's on high alert, and then you see plane crashes on TV, and it comes in, they burst into flames or whatever.
Yeah,
it's
of course. But
Yeah,
imagine,
so
then afterwards, like you
freaked
wake
out
up in
and
the
jumped,
hospital,
and everyone's like, "Don't jump!" They're screaming
That's-
from the bottom because
"You fools!"
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things we try to tell people is, like that slide. When we had people come down that slide, it's all the research I've ever done. 1-to-6 ratio of traumatic injuries to walking wounded on all those incidents with the slides, because the slides, people will hurt themselves. Most of the time it's ankles or rug burns because of the actual, the material. So we were very fortunate because the slide was a very shallow pitch. Mm-hmm. So fortunately we didn't have anybody almost go straight, speed down that thing. So in that case, we did well. There was one pre-existing heart condition. The guy got kind of excited. Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah.
How close to death he thought he was coming. Let's see. So there was that one.
He had just survived Vegas.
Yeah, he just survived Vegas. Yeah, absolutely. There's a police department helicopter that came in and splatted on Mission Boulevard. Both those guys survived, but their careers were ruined. I was the first one on scene for that one too.
Oh man.
Whoa, hold on. How did it just splat?
Good question. Okay, so at the airport, everybody, they talk about pickup FOD, which is foreign object debris or foreign object damage. Okay, pick it up. Don't leave it.
Basically anything you see floating around on the
small
tarmac
pieces
out
of
there.
anything. A wheel, just a wheel from a piece of luggage, okay, is very damaging to a plane. Here's what happened with that helicopter. They had to they were doing a 100-hour inspection. And the mechanic had to replace, there's a little strobe light just aft of the main rotor. And this was a little Hughes 500 helicopter. And he had to replace the bulb in the strobe light. And part of that is you have to disconnect a bunch of ties and wraps and take it apart, change the bulb, put it all back together, and then reattach it with new zip ties. He left the bundle of zip ties near the intake of the engine. The engine ingested that bundle of zip ties and it flamed out. And so he came in, he was basically auto-rotating. All he had was the momentum of the blades. And he came in at a little bit of an angle sideways. He didn't come in flat like this, which you would normally do for an auto-rotation. Came in kind of a side. So his helicopter took out all of the communication lines to our dispatch.
Whoa.
Put a bunch of divots in Mission Boulevard. Came to a stop in the middle. And as I'm turning the corner, I was with one of my sergeants. And I see the thing just catch fire. I see the top of this column of smoke.
You were on the law enforcement side?
I was on the law enforcement side at that time. I'm telling on the radio, hey, officers down, because we knew what we saw was Ontario Police Department's helicopter.
Yeah.
And there was a citizen that actually got a citizen's award from the police department because he actually rescued the pilot.
Oh, wow.
He was a FedEx driver. Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a hero for a long time. So he pulled the pilot out.
Dangerous business, man.
Yeah.
Running up to a aircraft crash.
Well, yeah. And then the mechanic, he was able, I think, to self-extricate, and he was laying down on the sand, basically almost like a supine typical position because his back was jacked up. So, we got them, because I got there first, and I look up, and here comes one of my cross trucks. I'm like, oh crap, and I'm gonna get soaked in foam because the plane was on fire. I mean, the helicopter was on fire by that time, and we just by the numbers put him on a backboard because his back was hurt, got him out of the way, and then the guys kablam and just covered it in foam.
The whole thing,
covered it in foam, and there wasn't much left of it. I got some really cool pictures of it, and I have a video of the Southwest plane. We put a video together.
Oh wow!
I used to show it when I used to teach crash rescue at the. I used to teach the foam unit of the 40-hour Fire Control 5 class.
Okay,
and I would show that video showing people, okay, here's how foam is used. Here's how you shouldn't use it, that sort of thing.
Were you into airplanes or airliners before you got hired there? Or was
no,
it just something that just came with the job?
Something came up with a job, and I thought, man, that's kind of neat. It's specialized firefighting. I said, this is going to be kind of cool. I can get myself a level of a niche or of expertise.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
So
Another
you
thing
wind
that
up...
you always say, too. Add as many things as you can to the toolbox.
Absolutely, yeah. And it doesn't stop when you get hired either.
Right.
You know what I mean? Any classes in, that's what you kind of always struck me as.
You can wind up a 48-year-old rookie.
Yeah. That's how you wound up striking me as someone who always took classes or tried to learn as much as you could in different things when we were chatting the other day. But that's great advice. Anytime there's a class, especially younger guys, it's harder to do when you're, if you let time pass, like a lot of guys, like me and myself, even, you study and you work so hard to like add stuff to your resume and get as much as you can on your resume to get hired. And then, I went through paramedic school, all that stuff. And then I got hired, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, I did it. And I kind of relaxed, and as opposed to like keeping my nose to the grindstone and keeping my nose in the books and continuing on with studying. Yeah. In my experience through years, it seems like the guys that have done that have just like gotten off probation, like, oh, dude, I'm gonna study for this next engineer's test, blah blah blah, and just kept on going. Or the guys that really got traction and wound up, being chiefs and
And that's why I know good point, because I encourage a lot of the younger members is that, okay, get through your probation, get to that point. Okay, what's your next step? Where do you want to go? Where do you think you might want to go? Yeah. In 10 years, 5, 10, 15 years. And, for instance, engineer is a normal step. Okay, go to the local community college, fire apparatus and equipment. There's a class, fire apparatus and equipment. You learn how to spec out a fire truck. Yep. There's the hydraulics class. You get so deep into hydraulics, it makes your head spin. Yeah. These are the classes that you need to go to. Okay, the next step, we're going into fire officer. Well, there's an entire state fire marshal fire officer certification program, which I did. Yeah. And then there's chief officer. Then you can go to the National Fire Academy and go to get your Master Fire Officer certs.
And you did all this while you were still in Ontario, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's start to talk about how the hell you go from 20 some odd years with Ontario as a captain with all of this experience, with crash incidents under your belt, with rescues under your belt, all the law enforcement side stuff that you did and learned, your certifications that go along with that, open carry and all the different things that go along with that. How do you go from that to being a 47, 48-year-old rookie with the LAFD and basically the bottom of the totem pole with our organization? How does that happen? Take us from the beginning.
Well, that was an interesting journey.
Because, and I should mention too that when we, as part of our training, like in the drill tower and stuff like that, we actually went out to Ontario because you guys have the burn chambers out there.
Sweet survival system burn containers.
Exactly. Yeah. We came out and actually worked with your guys, put on that course. We learned about fire behavior and stuff like this. Was before LA City had their own burn containers. We went out to Ontario and did it out there. And classes for the guys that work on our ARF rigs, on our crash rigs at Fire Station 80 at LAX, and in the Valley, go out there to take classes from you guys as well, right? The
ARF stuff, they did the stuff at San Bernardino International Airport because they actually have the class there.
Gotcha.
My original ARF school was at Salt Lake City. They actually had there was a really nice, really great class there because Delta Airlines had a hub. So we actually went through the chief training flight attendant actually put us through one of their reoccurring trainings for an actual incident.
Oh yeah.
And so they have
was that part of your probation or your training when you got hired, when you first got hired?
No, it wasn't right when I got hired, but when the opportunity presented itself,
Sure.
then there was a few of us that did go because we hadn't been to one yet. So let's see, did that, and then the training that we gave to other people was the Swede survival systems. I'm kind of trying to recount here in my head, and then because I was probably there when you were in the tower. Most likely, I was there, and taught
03 when I went through.
Yeah, there you go. 03. So I was there. And then we would teach the LAFD captains, train the trainer. We'd give them training so when they eventually bought theirs, they could just give the training over at, I think, where is it they do it now? I don't even know. It's up in the hills somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and then the ARF teaching was when I was actually part of the cadre that taught at San Bernardino.
Oh, okay.
Because that's where the 40-hour class is now, and that's where people that want to go to 80s will go to get their certification to work at 80s.
Right.
And so I used to teach that.
Right.
I can't work there because I don't have enough seniority, but I can teach.
We'll get into that.
They're all going to know you when you get there.
They all, when I go to 80s, they all, hey, Dan, how's it going? What's the latest,
Yeah.
And for the listeners who don't know, could we say what ARF is?
Oh, it's aircraft rescue firefighting. That's what it is.
Yeah, basically the big crash rigs that go out to an airline crash or something, it's an incident that happens on the airfield. Those big units, they can squirt foam, water from you actually control it from inside the rig as you're driving too, which is something that most fire engines can't do. You usually have to switch, from drive to your pump.
Yeah, they can do modulating.
Yeah, specialized firefighting, specialized foam. It's specialized techniques on how to do everything, specialized gear when you're in there fighting fire. It's a lot of different tactics, strategies and tactics when you're doing that type of firefighting. It's definitely a specialty. And within the LAFD, it's not just ARF. I mean, it's all the specialties within the LAFD. It's almost like a club. You kind of gotta, it's almost like a motorcycle club where you got to be a hang around at first, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you're a prospect and you're kind of, showing up to their training events or showing up to things, trying to show your face. Maybe you transfer into a station that's in that battalion.
Yeah. Everyone's got to know
you.
days
there. Yeah. And then, you might, get your certification stuff but then they'll, oh shit, we want Johnny Boy over here. He's been waiting. He's next in line to get over here. Well, I got more time. Well, Johnny Boy's been coming to the classes and everything. It's like, fuck, dude. Okay. I guess I'll wait. Okay. Yeah. But let's just kind of talk about like how did the grumblings of there being a change in Ontario start? Do you remember how that even started?
Yeah, it was during the recession is when it kind of started and then evolved from there. But the Ontario was what's called a non-residual funding airport. So all the money that was earned there had to stay there. And the city of LA was getting tired of that because the city of LA wasn't getting really any money from it. Yet there have people out there, they have politics out there, you name it. They have personnel. So they said, you know what?
And for those that don't know, Ontario's pretty far out from where we are now, what you would consider LA.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Ontario is a nice hour drive east of us.
Easily an hour drive. And it was, real quick, little history. The reason why the city of LA bought it was because they needed an overrun airport when LAX fogged in.
Right.
That was the whole reason why it was purchased. And it just kind of blossomed from there. So anyway, the city of LA wasn't getting any money. The recession happens. There wasn't any money being spent for marketing. And then the city of LA says, you know what? We're going to keep it. The city of Ontario at the time says, we want it because you're driving into the ground. So then all of this materialized to a civil lawsuit from an airport authority, which was created to buy the airport. And then eventually the city of LA said, okay, yeah, we'll sell it. So they sold it. And the airport authority, they got some grants together, or not grants, but bonds, some bonds to purchase it. And from that point, we were out of jobs, kind of. A lot of the people that were already there, carpenters, painters, those kind of things. They were just able to disperse throughout the city. But what my particular job title was a senior airport safety officer. That didn't exist anywhere else in the city. So they were trying to figure...
the city of Ontario, you mean?
No, I worked for the city of LA.
Okay, right.
The city of LA owned 4 at the time. It was Palmdale, LAX, Van Nuys, and Ontario.
Okay.
So, so then once they sold it, they were kind of figuring, okay, what are they going to do with us? Well, one of the options was we could quit, go work for the city of Ontario. And the city of Ontario would have hired a bunch of us. You know, we know a lot of those guys, and we've worked with them a lot. They would have hired us. However, I looked at that, and the way the retirement was going, I would have been at 0-0. And when I say that, I had no vacation. I would have had no sick leave.
Man.
I had all that with me.
Right.
I would have been very much at will because I was a brand new city of Ontario employee.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like, ooh, yeah, I'm closer to home, but that having that there over my head, I just didn't like that idea.
Sure, yeah.
Of course.
So the other guys, the option was we could all be police officers. In my case, I would have been a police sergeant too, I think, at LAX. And I thought, oh, I don't want to move.
Yeah.
Because I did the math on every half-hour drive, half hour closer I got to LAX, the cost of houses went up about $200,000.
Yeah.
And I thought,
yeah,
sounds right.
Yeah, it's like, no. So then I said, well, we're going to work on getting you guys to the LAFD.
Yeah.
And we all wonder, well, what does this mean? What does that mean for us? Because we heard about the Naval Shipyard, the Long Beach Naval Shipyard guys came, and they did a gentleman's academy for them, and apparently that didn't work out so well. So they said, if you come over with us, you got to go through the full tower. So we said, okay. So the last 3 of us, there was 5 that went into class 16-2. One guy made it to the station. He quit while he was at the station because he had 13. He was one of my guys. He had 13 years on. He didn't want to be a rookie again.
Yeah.
He was tired of the proficiency exercise in that whole game.
Sure.
He says, I don't want to do it. I said, okay, come on back. He came back to my shift. He stayed there, and now he's a cop at LAX, and he's one of the more successful, productive officers at the airport there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's 3 of us that went through it, class 16-4, and we still work. One of them is an EIT in Battalion 4.
Yeah.
And the other guy works at 44s, and I'm at 67s. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. I was the oldest in the tower, and I got sick. I got really sick. They had to actually transport me to the hospital because they thought I had pneumonia. Thank God I didn't.
Wow.
And then, Andy Sines, who was a captain there, one of our drill masters, good man, recognized, like, Dan, you need to go downstairs, take your stuff off. Something don't look right, because I guess I look really bad.
Yeah.
So anyway, and then we graduated and went to the different, first house was 7s in Arleta.
Yeah.
And that was, you know what? I tell you what, a lot of people say that, okay? But this is where it's the crew.
Yeah.
It's the crew. When Danny talked about earlier about you got 4 people in the back of that engine, and it's either really, really quiet or everybody's laughing and scratching and having a good time.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate to have a crew to laugh and scratch a lot, because I think they understood my plight, my background, my life experience.
Sure.
Right.
So they were kind of gentle with me, I guess. I mean, obviously there was LAFD ways of doing things, granted.
Yeah.
But I had a really good time. We got our asses handed to us there.
That's what the groan came from. 7's a really busy spot.
Yeah.
Actually, they were in old 81s when I used to dabble up in the valley. They shared a station with old 81s.
Yes, I was at the new one.
Yeah, they have a brand new station now. But it's just like Dan said, man. A lot of times those stations that are really busy, those are like the funnest to work with, because they
oh yeah,
and especially now with a little bit, now that I'm a little bit older, like obviously I like to chill, and I do not like to be that busy. 63
Right.
keeps about as busy as I like to be. But I'll go back and pick up saw days, if I need a day or whatever, or somebody asks me to work at 9s or some of the other busier spots. And it's funny because you go into those stations and they're fun to go back to for a shift or whatever, get your ass kicked for a shift and like remember why you don't work there anymore. But you feel the youth and the youthful vibe of the guys that work there.
Before.
Yeah. It's like a smell or something like that takes you back to a memory. Like you get in there and everyone, fucking with everyone else and jabbing each other for this, that, or talking about the night out or the weekend in Havasu or whatever. And it's like, you kind of sit there in the back corner and you go like, oh yeah, man, I remember this, those were the days, when I could fucking go out and get wasted with the crew and, coming to work and not have a, not have a hangover and be, in the gym working out and stuff like that. You get that feeling of youthfulness when you go back to work at places like that. But
yeah,
and he had a good crew and it was fun. Not like when you guys had the 50-year-old rookie and you said you ran him out of there.
Yeah, well, they could go either way, right? Like Dan, I feel like leaned into it and was like, hey man, fuck it, I'm a rookie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's go. We've got this youthful crew. We're going to get our ass kicked. Let's go. Let's get our ass kicked. Yeah. And then you could go the other way, which is like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm 50 years old. I got this fucking kid telling me I can't eat ice cream. Yeah. I'll never forget, dude, it's just a little side story. This guy, rookie at our station, and it's just, probation sucks. It sucks. Yeah. You're the new guy. Everybody has questions for you. If you don't have the answer, it feels shitty to not have the answer, to be looked down on, to be made feel like you're an idiot sometimes, or whatever. It just generally sucks. And when it's a lot different now, but like when I went through 20 years ago, you didn't eat ice cream. You weren't eating desserts. You ate at the meal times and then that was it. Like you weren't getting snacks. If you got time to sit and snack, you got time to study, or you got time to throw ladders in the back or whatever. So walk into the kitchen, it was like after dinner and this guy sits down, goes into the freezer, gets a quart of ice cream, sits down. He's sitting down, flipping through a book, studying, but he's grubbing ice cream, right? I'm like watching this guy, and it was me and a classmate, Mike Miller, we're in the kitchen, and Mike's like, look at this dude, and so I'm sitting there, I don't know what I was eating ice cream too or whatever, right? And I told him, hey, I don't care, I don't care, right? But some of these guys here might not like that you're just sitting here eating ice cream, like you probably shouldn't do that, or at least take it to the back to the study room. Don't just like be out here, because some of the guys might not like it, right? Oh, my bad. And he puts it away, and then we got to run. Mm-hmm. And so I take off on the run, and then I get a text from Mike Miller. He goes, man, as soon as you left the kitchen, he went back in the freezer and got that ice cream, right? Which normal people, it's not a big, it's a full-grown man eating ice cream at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Older than you. Yeah.
But there are plenty of guys who have way less time than me that would walk and go, what the fuck, dude? You're eating ice cream? What the fuck? You know what I mean? You got time to eat ice cream. You got time to, we're not giving you enough to do. But, you know what I mean? And when you're 50 and you've been through life and you have experience, to have some 20-year-old talking shit to you like that at the end of the day, where you probably got your ass kicked and throwing ladders in and your whole body hurts, it's like, fuck you, dude. You know what I mean? So I can see how someone could go that way, and it's actually makes you going through it and putting in the effort and coming out with your reputation intact, or the reputation that you have. Yeah, it's commendable, man. Because I don't know if I could do it. We have guys. We had a guy from 63s that left and went to Santa Monica. I don't want to say his name, but a great guy, but he had like 7-8 years on the job, and he left and went to Santa Monica. And I wouldn't be able to do that, dude, because I wouldn't. Maybe 2 or 3 years, you know what I mean? Like, okay, but once you get into 4 or 5 years, it's like, damn, do I really want to lose the past 5 years that I had and go through being a rookie all over again? And it's just like, I can't even wrap my brain around having to do that, man. It
was tough. I mean, here's what made it a little bit more interesting even, is that when I made Captain Ontario, there was 2 of us. The guy, Rich, who's also at 44s, we went to the core class, the LAFD core class. So there's a lot of guys in there now that they were getting ready to make captain. And when I came over to LAFD, they were all captains. And so I recognized, hey guys, how's it? Tell them by their first names, because it was just, that's what I remembered. Yeah. I mean, Greg Shirley, we all know Greg Shirley.
Great guy.
Great guy. He was on my, we had like individual like task forces or squads, if you will, in the class. And we had these team building exercises, and he was on my team. And, he's at the tower teaching the fire behavior class, and I'm sitting in his fire behavior class. Yeah. Yeah. And I said, hey, Greg, how's it going? I mean, Captain Shirley, I had to check myself, and I thought, oh, what am I doing? It was just one of those things are kind of taking a full circle. Maybe, I don't know. It was just a strange, very strange feeling where I went backwards, but I had to do something.
Sure. Yeah.
And I didn't want to be a cop full time, and I didn't want to commute to LAX full time. My house was paid off, and I didn't want to buy another house until I retired.
Yeah.
Right.
So I became here I am.
I could see though, yeah, like with your attitude and everything, like they're eating out of his hand. After a while, listen to stories of drug busts and plane crashes and shit. It's just like you were probably in the kitchen eating ice cream, listening to all this shit. Like, you're gonna be on my podcast, dude.
Yeah. Everybody's different, man. Everybody's different, and attitude has so much to do with where you're going to do at a station or at a new place or whatever. Because you can teach guys things that they don't know, right? Or if you're at an airport station, I can teach you all the airport shit. Or if you're coming to me as an intern, I can teach you how to be a good field, paramedic or whatever. I can't teach you to have a good attitude. I can't teach you to study this shit at home on your own. I can't teach you to be self-motivated and come in with a good attitude and come in with the attitude like I'm going to learn something new today. I'm going to do well. You know what I mean? You can't teach that shit. So yeah, just coming into a new place with a good attitude. Especially when you have like preconceived notions about you, or maybe you came someplace where you didn't get along, like me going from 57s to 10s. It's like I went from being at a busy spot where, we talked about being busy. It's all about your crew. Well, I was at a busy spot with like the biggest asshole captain you could possibly have in the history of the LAFD on site. If I ever see this fool, no, I'm just kidding. But unbeknownst to me, it came into 10s with him having already called over and talking a bunch of shit about me. But coming in and having a good attitude and wanting to learn, and I hadn't been on a truck in 4 or 5 years, so being interested in the truck stuff and everything, it set a tone with the guys there. Like, okay, Danny's pretty cool. He's got a good attitude about shit, and it changed everything for me there. But so. Now you're here with the LFD. What were your houses on probation? 7s?
First house was 7s. Second house was 95s for the truck house, which it was okay. I mean, it's for a truck house for a second. It's not. I wouldn't recommend it. It's because the truck is not that busy.
Yeah. And it's not your typical everyday truck calls at that spot either.
No, it's. I mean, a good truck house to me, because I was up in the valley at 7s, was 98s, 75s. Sure. Yeah. Those are some truck houses. And then third house was 72s, which in Canoga Park, which wasn't, that was the worst place as far as people. There was a couple good guys there, but most of it is like, it's just some people you're just not going to gel with. It's just not going to happen. That was one of those places. Yeah. Left there, and then I went to 91s, and I knew one of the medics there at 91s. From when we both worked for the Air Force together. When I was at that short time I worked for the Air Force, he was same thing. He worked at the same station, different shifts. Yeah. And that's how I met him. And
it's funny how that happens in this business, man. You're coming up and you take so many classes and stuff like that. You wind up just kind of seeing people on the same, on the same route.
And especially in the crash rescue world, it's even tighter. It's actually becomes almost global.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So, and then from 91s and the 67s. Because 91s, 91s, it's a great third house rookie place. Great place. Lots of different fires. I was having a good time, a good crew. Yeah. But I was a 52-year-old fireman on the nozzle there. And on that 800, I was getting tired. Yeah. I was just getting beat up and getting tired. We went to a lot of different fires. I mean, Saddle Ridge Fire, first in, I was on that day. Yeah. I was there. And I'm surprised we didn't get ourselves burned. I mean, that was pretty hairy. And so, it was time to get to
I was going to ask you about that, because you had a lot of time with the Forest Service and the Bureau of Land Management. Yes. Did you have crazier wildfires there, or since you've been in the city, or you have any like hairy stories?
Well, I mean, the forest, a little bit hairy. It's a little bit crazier with the city only because of the interface. When I worked for the Bureau of Land Management, the Forest Service, the only one that was kind of hairy was in 1987. We were punching a hose lay somewhere out in this, it was a Stanislaus complex, and we were punching a hose lay, I think downhill, or trying to get this hose lay downhill. And I remember them saying, everybody drop your packs, get up to the top. And when I heard drop your packs, get up to the top,
it's a scary command.
That's scary. And the captain that I had at the time, he was a Vietnam vet, very calm dude, been in the business for a long time. And he's telling us, get up. And we think, uh-oh. So we dropped our packs. We all the packs went rolling down the hill, and we hauled ass up to the safety zone that was cut out by a gigantic, I remember it was a gigantic Fiat Alice bulldozer, private dozer. And we all sat there and we waited for this fire to do its thing because it was bouncing all over the place. And when we got done with that, I don't remember if we got back in the engines and got out of there or what we did, because we had no hose left. We all dumped it. Damn. So we had to go back to fire camp. I think we ended up going back to fire camp and getting more hose. But that was the most hairiest as far as in the wildland agencies.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Saddle Ridge, I would definitely say, was the toughest, most erratic fire behavior I've seen. I mean, there was, case in point, the medic friend of mine, we're on the engine there that day, thank goodness. And we look up, we're trying to protect this house, and there's a deck. They have a deck out back. It's made of that plastic wood looking stuff. Yeah, you put water on that with wind, the fire gets bigger. Oh. Okay, so just FYI, sports fans who are listening. Anyway, I look up and say, hey, Rob, look, there's a little bit of flame up on that on the balcony of that house. He says, so he turns his nozzle, hits it, and I said, it didn't go out. And I said, do it again. He hits it again. I thought, that's inside the house. It was the up top balcony of a bedroom, the master bedroom. I said, the window's closed. The door is closed. Yeah. How did that get inside? Yeah. So I had to drop what I was doing. I said, I'll go get it. So I had to go get a deep BA on in wildland gear, get a line, go up to the upper floor, and put the fire out inside this house. And I thought, okay, this is nuts. Yeah. This is getting crazy. Yeah. That was, I mean, fire was burning underneath the shake shingle. Man. Not the shake. I'm sorry, not the shake shingle. The asphalt shingle, excuse me. It's burning underneath the asphalt shingle and setting the plywood on fire, where the asphalt shingle is squished to the plywood. Man. Yeah, the plywood was still catching fire. That's crazy. Shit. That's the kind of stuff, the behavior that we saw. Yeah, wildland has always scared me, man. There's just so many different things that can happen in that type of fire. We're getting close to the end here. I wanted to talk a little bit about where you go from here. So we heard this crazy story. Great question. That got you here to being, a 6-year firefighter on the LAFD. You're on an engine, pretty busy engine, and 800 in Playa del Rey. Where do you go from here? What's the plan from here? Going to retire. Probably the first day of June is my official on paper retirement date. Oh, really? Yeah. And so it's close. Yeah. 5 months, 163 days. I think it was this morning. I looked at my countdown, just not that I'm counting. And we're going to stick around for a little while. We got to do some upgrades and improvements to the house that have been deferred over the years because of the job. And we're looking at New Hampshire as a place to move. Wow. Oh, look at that. Yeah. Nice. And we're totally bugging out. Not Tennessee, not North or South Carolina, not Florida, not Montana. Way the hell over there. Way out there. So we'll see. We're going to go visit this winter. We're going to go tour it in February and see if it's the winter is something we can tolerate. We're going to be more towards the coast, so it should be a little bit milder. And that's the plan. First thing is sleep in. That's the first thing. Yeah, I was going to sleep. Try to get a normal sleep schedule. Get normal sleep schedule, sleep pattern. Am I going to go back to work and do something else? I don't know yet. I might. There's a lot of things I could do out there. I don't know. I'll go work for the railroad or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Work at a bike store. I like cycling, so there's lots of different options.
Could not get further away.
Did your pension and retirement and everything from Ontario roll over to what we have on the LAFD, or how does that work out?
I'm still in Lacers. I didn't go to Fireman's Police Pension. Oh, okay. There was a one-time offer for us, and they said, here's what it'll cost. It's about $250,000, but I would go backwards 4 years. Oh, wow. And I thought, that's an awful lot of time to go backwards. Yeah. That late in my career. So I stayed in Lacers. I couldn't drop. It's not that important to me. So I have my Lacers retirement. I have all my sick time, all my vacation time, all that stuff is coming with me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, shit, man.
Nice. You know what's cool? It's possible, like how you're saying, like your past can connect at different times to your career. He could have busted a guy, like in the 90s. That guy gets out, settles in Playa Vista, has a heart attack or something, calls 911, and then he shows up, and it's like, you're
like,
the
"You son
narc
of a
that
bitch."
busted me. You know what I mean?
Damn you, Foley.
Right? It's fucking cool, man.
Yeah, it is cool, man. Well, Dan, that's a crazy, twisty, turny story that we just went through. But it goes back to what I've always said, man. No two stories are alike when you talk to people that are on the fire department. Everybody's got their own path to get to where they are. Everybody's got their own hiccups. Some guys might have a shady past that they had to overcome. Some people take their first test, after taking their first class and get hired right away. It's a crazy kind of spectrum of how people get to where they are on the job. And I think your story is just a testament to life can throw anything at you at any point.
Oh yeah.
And it really is how you react to things that's going to dictate whether you come out good on the other side or if you crash and burn. And so I'm happy to know you, man. I'm happy to work in the battalion with you. And I always have a good time when I run into you on incidents. I always know shit's going to be handled properly and there's not going to be corners cut and stuff like that. And as I get older, I appreciate that more about people that I work with, because it's real easy to cut corners and just not cross your T's and dot your I's on things. And a lot of times people don't realize how that sort of stuff can come back and bite you at a later date.
Oh yes.
So yeah, that's it, man. Thank you so much for coming and sharing
great,
your story.
man. Thank you.
Thanks for having me,
All
guys.
right.
This
Do
was
you have
nice.
anything you want to plug or social media you want to put out there? Dan?
No, I don't have anything.
Social what?
I don't have anything to plug. Just
All right. Well, thank you for coming out, man. You guys take care. We'll see you.
All right.